Hey guys, there's music in the air, and I'm here to talk to you about the new Coldplay album. It's called Ghost Stories. It's a new album. It takes new directions. But I have to start out by saying I'm not the biggest Coldplay fan. I've never really gotten into a lot of their stuff. Uh, the stuff that I have heard, I did not care for. I did not care for their last album, Milo Xyloto. It's just not my cup of tea. And I feel like Coldplay itself is a alt rock band for people who don't like alt rock. They don't really like the fans don't really go into any deeper of the genre, much like some metal fans don't go any deeper than Slipknot or Avenged Sevenfold. They kind of like the poppiness of it. It's very easy to listen to. It doesn't challenge anything, that sort of thing. And with this album, I think it's been getting a lot of negative reviews because it changes that. It goes into like almost a very Kid A by Radiohead-esque atmosphere instead of being just about hooks and being catchy. For some reason, they're not getting the critical acclaim that Radiohead did with it, which is understandable. It's not as monumental of a change, but it's has that regard of being more electronic based and more minimal and more desolate and sad and just almost depressing. So let me get into the album. We begin with Always in My Head, and it's like the perfect tone for the album. It's very moderate in tempo. It's not the best lyrically, but it's ultimately forgettable. But it's just a pretty song. It's nothing that you want to go right home about. It's just a kind of a lame opener for what I think is a decent album. Magic was the second single that I ever heard off the album, and when I heard that one, I was pretty underwhelmed. I was like, well, Midnight was good. This isn't so great. I don't really like this one. It was clear that this one is supposed to be more of a like actual single. The lyrics are okay on it. It's very sappy, but it's at the same time it's earnest sounding to me. Once again, this is sort of a meh song. Like, it's okay. Yeah, they're not gonna be playing this in 4 to 6 years, but then we go on to Ink, which it dabbles more into the electronic side of the album. It gets more beat oriented and more synth oriented. But one thing that they do that I cannot stand is that they have these. It's either a flugelhorn or a trumpet in the background, and it's just so soft rock sounding that it sounds out of place. It makes the song unlistenable to me because it's just so sappy to me, and it doesn't sound that great in my opinion. But I can understand why somebody would like this song, just not for me. It's lyrically, it's interesting. It makes sense for the concept of the album, but once again, this is not the first third of this song album. I cannot stand. Then we get into True Love, and this is where it really like shifts in my opinion of the album. It has a strange chord progression because it follows something that's very typical, but then at the last chord they don't go down a half step. For people who understand music terms, it makes me uneasy because I feel like it needs to shift down, but it doesn't. That to me just it's unsettling. I don't know if they did that on purpose. It would make sense with the concept of the album, and if they did that as something to make people unsettled, or they realize, oh, this is a so typical chord progression that we have to change it up somehow, and they just left off the last half step, then I could understand that. But this is where it becomes kind of a more unique album to me. Also, the next song is Midnight. This was the first song I heard of Coldplay that I really was like, yes, this is a good song. I enjoy everything about it. I love the vocoder vocals on it. That just sounds amazing to me. A lot of people said, oh, it sounds like Bon Iver, and what they're referring to when they say that is off of Blood Bank, the EP. He sings a song called Up in the Woods, which is all vocoder. I don't see how they relate at all, but besides the fact that there's a vocoder used in it, it's a very, very this Midnight is just so good. I love the poeticism of the lyrics. It's one of the best Coldplay songs I've ever heard, in my opinion. The next song on the album is Another's Arms. I like this song too. It has a really cool atonal, I don't know if it's a sample or what is it. It's just some sound that they play throughout the song. And like I said, it's either clashing chords or clashing notes, or it's just an atonal sound, and it's completely unlike Coldplay. And I give them so many props for trying something like that, because that's so unlike them, and that's really risky, and I really think it makes a song interesting. The next song is Oceans. Now, this song is as close to a Radiohead song as I think you can get. It is very, very, very minimal, and it is just so dismal sounding, and it's called Oceans, and that's all I can think of when I hear it. It just sounds bleak, like the open ocean, and I love this song. The vocals sound a lot like Tom York would deliver the vocals. I know I'm comparing it to Radiohead a lot because I'm a huge Radiohead fan, and that's the biggest honor I think I can give Coldplay, is because they have even said themselves that they're just a crappy ripoff of Radiohead. But this is just something that I lyrically and musically, and the tone of it and the atmosphere of it is just so beautiful, and it's just so perfect, and I can't even describe. This is another one of my favorite Coldplay songs. And then we get to Sky Full of Stars, and this one, it's clearly supposed to be the single and the song that lasts on like set lists over time for this band. It's clearly supposed to get a ton of airplay. I believe Avicii was the producer on it, and it has a very clear, if it's a he, I'm not even sure. It's very clear that he worked on it, and it's just not my song. It's very EDM, and I just don't care for it. I mean, it's catchy and everything, but that's about it. The last track is called O, which is actually supposed to mean full circle. And this feels like more quintessential Coldplay. It's very piano driven. It's very sad. It feels very intimate. I love the piano in it. It's constantly going, and it's and Chris Martin's vocals soar over it, and it's very beautiful, and it harkens back to almost like a simpler and a more sad version of Fix You. And, that's kind of what this album feels like. It feels like a sadder, more simple version of what Coldplay has done in the past. I enjoyed this album thoroughly, more than I have ever enjoyed any Coldplay album that I've ever heard. If you were to ask me, hey, what number would you give it out of 10? I'd say 7.5. I'm not sure if I'll always give ratings on albums, because sometimes that can be a little bit controversial and people get hooked on numbers. This is a very good album, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know if I'm going to regularly listen to it, but it's very different in Coldplay's repertoire. And I urge you to give it a listen, and I urge you to understand that it's not a typical Coldplay album. And hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, because this is going to be a new channel of mine. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Take care, guys.